It's time for the Texas Perspective on current news and events. A man who calls it like he sees it, without the normal political correctness you may have grown comfortable with. This show is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. Chances are you will learn something and along the way get to hear some great music from bands you may have missed. The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
The doctor will see you now.
Good morning, Beaumont. Glad to have all of you on the show today. Today is the Saturday show. It's going to be a full hour, and we're in segment number 1. Thank you guys for being part of the show. Now, I have to tell you, I'm also on Rumble. That's Doc Greene on Rumble and on YouTube. Doc Greene on YouTube, easy enough to find. Just got to put the E on the end of Greene. It really irritates me sometimes that none of my regular listeners or my friends ever leave a comment on there. Duck Dew, God bless him. Duck Dew has been listening to this show for many years, and Duck Dew always has something to say, and it's mostly not great. He doesn't apparently like the show. He usually gives me a thumbs down. But for those of you that are my regular listeners, that when I meet you in person claim to like the show, the least you can do is leave a comment. So I would be grateful if you would do that. Leave a comment on Rumble if you're watching there. Leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching there. And Rumble is free, and so is the YouTube. You don't have to sign up. I don't charge anybody anything. So it's all there. Anyway, welcome to the show. What we want to talk about today, of course, is what's going on in Minneapolis, and we're going to have some fun too. But Donald Trump announced that he may invoke the Insurrection Act because everything is going to hell in Minneapolis. Actions taken by George Washington in a similar situation involving local intransigence and adhering to federal law in the 1790s are also instructive. But Trump said, look, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional paid agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the officers of ICE who are simply there to do the job, to enforce American law, I will institute the Insurrection Act. Many presidents have done it before me, and we will quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in this once great state. Of course, I've said it before, and I will say it again. Not all criminals are Democrats, but all Democrats are criminals. Tim Walz, a perfect example. Jacob Fry, the Minneapolis mayor, is another really good example. Ilhan Omar. There's no question these people are absolute criminals. And, of course, they're joined in their criminal enterprise by a huge number of federal judges who are also criminal. But in a video address posted on Wednesday, Walz said all across Minnesota, people are stepping up to help their neighbors who have been unjustly and unlawfully targeted. Tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, in this occupation, you have exposed enough fraud here, and if you keep doing this, there's going to be so much fraud exposed that we won't be able to be rich anymore. Actually, I added that last part. That's not exactly what he said. But his video was so bad, they had to take it down from YouTube because we're getting nothing but derogatory comments or thumbs down. The American people are fed up. But he was demanding the federal government stop enforcing the law. He was demanding that people like Nick Shirley quit exposing these child care centers that have no children, these home health care centers that provide no home health care services, these transportation services that don't transport anybody, yet all of them are getting millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. So this is where we're at. I want you to see what happened to Nick Shirley the last time that he went out. This should scare the heck out of you.
We have Nick Sorter and a friend, and they're up there trying to get the goods on these guys, but instead they find their vehicle completely surrounded by an angry mob, mostly white liberals, that are up there complaining because they seem to love all the Somali fraud. These guys are completely surrounded his vehicle, and they're beating on it, and they're spray painting nasty words on it, and there's a guy in the back that's trying to break out the back window. And he does succeed. He breaks 2 holes in the back window. And this guy jumps on the hood of his vehicle. Finally, he sees his opening, jerks to the left, runs down the sidewalk to get around all of the cars that were blocking the street so he couldn't drive on the street. And he finally gets out of there and gets to a safe place. And then we get out and we see all the holes in the vehicle, we see all the dents, we see all the nasty words that were spray painted all over the vehicle. And this, my friends, is what the leftist mob is doing in America. Completely unacceptable.
You know, they said what we did in Washington, D.C. on January the 6th several years ago was an insurrection. Well, I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is what real insurrection looks like. And if Donald Trump does not invoke the Insurrection Act and go up there and clean out that state, that includes getting rid of the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the mayor of Minneapolis, and indeed getting rid of a lot of the federal district judges that are up there. There's never going to be peace in America. This is going to result in great bloodshed, far beyond what has happened so far. The entire affair on January 6th in Washington, D.C., which I was part of, was simply a group of Americans who were exercising the fifth right that is recognized by the First Amendment, and that is the right to seek redress from government. We wanted our elected officials to know and understand that we did not want them to certify a blatant lie. And of course, everything that happened during the Biden administration should be completely thrown out, and all the people that were elected during the last 4 years should also be completely thrown out. And then we should restore the government as it was when Donald Trump left office. I don't think that's going to happen, but it really would fix a lot of problems because, well, of course, we've still got tens of millions of illegal aliens here in America, thanks to the fact that the election was stolen. In other news, you know, those Somali immigrants said they're not going anywhere. At least that's what Ilhan Omar said. Well, they might be going to prison, but likely for sentences that make slaps on the wrist look painful by comparison. And then they'll be back in the Minneapolis area, likely with the same contacts in the grift community that they had before and the same rights as any other convict. However, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, she says, why is anybody pro-fraud? I mean, I talked yesterday to a lady. She's got 2 PhDs. Her husband is a medical doctor. I mean, these are people that have wealth and education. And she was telling me about her distaste for Donald Trump and the way he's handling the immigration issue. This is just proof, once again, that the mainstream media needs to lose their broadcast licenses. They have an FCC license, and part of that charter is that they operate in the best interest of the American public. Well, they're obviously not, and that is why they should lose their broadcast licenses. But last week, Marsha Blackburn and 3 other GOP senators, Ted Budd of North Carolina, and John Cornyn of Texas, and Tom Cotton of Arkansas, introduced the Fraud Accountability Act. This would explicitly add fraud as a deportable offense under the Immigration and Nationality Act and make it clear that anyone who commits a deportable offense, now explicitly including fraud, would be subject to denaturalization. That means that someone like Ilhan Omar that came here under fraudulent circumstances as a child with her father, who was the enforcer for the Somali junta, that means that she would have her citizenship revoked and she could be deported. And of course, she should be. I mean, how does a Somali congresswoman come here, go into Congress with a net worth of $30,000, and in just a couple of years is all of a sudden worth $30 million? You have to ask yourself that question. So this is very bad news for the Somali grifters in Minnesota. And part of the issue is that many of these Somalis were involved in a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme in Minneapolis, and they are naturalized U.S. citizens. Now, they haven't got to the bottom of this yet. I now think, based on the research that I've done, that this fraud is over $19 billion. $19 billion of fraud in one state by one group of people. So this is good news. Speaking to Fox News, Bill Malugin, Marsha Blackburn said this has to change. We have to provide an avenue so that these individuals who come here and then rob the taxpayers will be removed from the country, and it needs to be done in an efficient and expeditious way. Of course, AOC. Now, we always thought AOC was dumber than a rock, but then we got Jasmine Crockett, which makes AOC look like a genius. She offered the best explanation of how the Democrats plan to attack this bill. She said, enforcing immigration law makes you the Gestapo. So why deal seriously with issues when we can just wave the bloody flag regarding Renee Good, who is bad? So anyway, this is great news. We want to see it happen. Watching Democrats vote in favor of fraudsters is, well, so far it's been absolutely appalling and even amazing. But now they're defending third world dictators like Maduro, and they're defending the Somali fraudsters up in Minneapolis, some of whom have spoke out and said, you white people, you are our slaves. Now get to work and pay your taxes so that we can live.
I genuinely believe that if aliens came down to Earth and started harming humans, there would be aliens rights activists. We're on a stolen planet. It's part of their culture. They have feelings too. They bring diversity. The world doesn't belong to us. The aliens have a right to defend themselves.
Is he right? I think so. Anyway, it's a Saturday show. We're just getting started here. I want you guys to stick with me right through the end today. And of course, like and share. Call your friends and tell them, hey, you got to get on Freedom 1300 AM right here in Beaumont. You got to hear this crazy guy, Doc Greene. He's absolutely nuts. So let them know about that. And, of course, if you're watching on Rumble or if you're watching on YouTube, which is where you get to see the video that goes along with this, then you can also leave a comment.
I don't know why guys need time to think before they answer your questions.
Well, first we have to realize you asked a question. Then we have to make sure we understood the question. Then we have to make sure the question's not a trap. Then we start formulating an answer. Then we have to figure out the best words to deliver the answer. Then we have to weigh the pros and cons of delivering the answer. Then we reevaluate, make sure the question's not a trap again, and then we deliver the answer. It's exhausting.
Once again, if you're watching this on Rumble or YouTube, please leave a comment. I need it. Thank you. See you guys in a minute. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.
Please return to the Doc Greene Show. This is Marvin the Martian. When you miss it, you make me very, very angry.
Welcome back to the show, segment number 2. Thank you guys for sticking with me through this. And we're going to have a little bit of fun in this segment, as well as some honest truth. First of all, I'd like to give you a little bit of Charlie Kirk, because it's just mind-blowing how good he was.
You dropped out of college, and your highest...
Community college.
Your Harper College experience, I apologize.
Barely was smart enough to make it through community college.
Okay, so...
Barely made it through high school,
your
too.
highest degree level is an honorary doctorate degree from Liberty University.
No, that's true. I do have an honorary PhD.
Yeah, so essentially... What are your qualifications for arguing that college is a scam, or really having any economical knowledge at all, when likely the vast majority of the students here know more than you about economics as a whole?
Okay, so... no, hold on. It's okay, guys. It's okay. Who's Milton Friedman?
Who's Milton Friedman? I have no idea, and it's not important to this conversation.
Who is Ludwig von Mises?
These are all probably economists, and they're the same
who
thing.
Is John Maynard Keynes?
Okay, obviously I know who Keynes is.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
He's the most famous economist of all time.
You don't know Milton Friedman?
I mean, that's an economist.
Okay, how about Murray Rothbard?
That's another economist.
F.A. Hayek?
I don't know who that is.
Well, then you just came here and insulted my intelligence. You're right, I barely made it through community college because I was too busy, starting a national youth movement with hundreds of thousands of members.
Hey, hold on, though. Hold on.
employing hundreds of people, raising hundreds of millions of dollars, having a top 10 most popular podcast, and reaching tens of millions of people online every day.
Sure,
but hold on.
But you're also
what
calling all of your constituents idiots by
I've
saying they
never said that,
participate in a
actually.
scam. Their
Hold on a
shirt's
second.
right there.
I'm
College
calling
is
the
a scam.
institution a scam.
So then
I never
why,
insulted the intelligence. I just had 10 people come up and we had warm conversations. So you asked, what are my qualifications? I'm a job creator, entrepreneur, autodidact. Do you know what that word means? Self-taught. Yeah, self-taught. You know, you should probably learn that word if you're going to come up and insult other people's intelligence.
Hey.
So autodidacticism is what Leonardo da Vinci was. You don't have to go to college to be wise. You don't have to go to college to be intelligent. I read 100 books a year. I visit over 150 colleges.
I'm not saying you're unintelligent. I'm just saying you lack qualifications.
Well, are you a New York Times bestseller?
Of course not. I'm in college.
Got it. So I'm just trying. What are my qualifications? I have published books, read lots of books, dialogued with a lot of people, and instead of asking what my qualifications are, can you name one thing I've ever said that? Hold on. Name one thing I'm wrong about.
You literally just now incorrectly cited the difference between socialism and communism. While you yourself...
How so? What did I do?
How so? You claimed that Russia was socialist. Russia was never socialist.
The Soviet Union was socialist.
No, it was a communist nation. There is a significant difference between the two.
Why did Lenin say that socialism is the gateway to communism, and he was self-described socialist in his private treatise and documents in the Russian Revolution?
Lenin was overtaken by Stalin.
Hold on a second. No, Lenin died, and then Stalin was his successor.
Yes.
So, but Lenin himself said, quote, that socialism is the introductory phase to communism. Did he not say that?
So then the vast majority of people, when they're referring to communist Russia, are referring to Stalin's rule over Russia. That was a communist rule that turned into a fascist rule later on.
Okay, so but what thinker was deified in Soviet Russia?
What thinker was deified?
Yes.
Marx.
Oh, and what book did Marx write?
Yes, he wrote Capital, and he also wrote the Communist Manifesto.
Who was his co-author?
Who was co-author?
Engels. Good. I'm glad college is really paying off for you.
Hey.
But it's okay. It's fine. He comes up here and insults my intelligence. What are your qualifications? Doesn't even know the co-author of the Communist Manifesto or Das Kapital. But no, let me just...
But does my lack of knowledge on that mean that I have no knowledge? Again, is that the same thing? You came up here and
insulted me. And you came up here guns a-blazing, man. And let me just ask, again, what did I say that was wrong? I said that under the generally agreed upon definition of communism and socialism, which are interchangeable terms, one is a more harsh degree of the other, is that the elimination of the family, the elimination of private property, and the deprivation of basic human rights such as right to speech, right to assembly, and right to worship. How is that not a good definition of communism or socialism?
That explains
the
fascism better.
Well, but in the Communist Manifesto, Marx said, quote, "We are here to destroy the nuclear family and eradicate the family because it was the original oppressive, tyrannical structure." He said religion is the opiate of the masses and that private property must be eradicated. I have just now documented all three of those with evidence back to original source documents. And then in practice, Russia did all those three things when they were the Soviet Union. So where am I wrong?
But then at the same time, if you claim that those are all negative things, then why do you practice certain things in the doctrines that you just stated?
Well, I'm not trying to take people's stuff away. I want people to have bigger families, and I want churches to remain open.
Yeah, but the thing is your biggest point that everyone here is for is that you're a potential white supremacist. So.
What evidence do you have that I'm a racist?
I was just literally watching a video of you talking about whiteness as a whole, talking about whiteness as a concept, okay? And you were trying to explain how white privilege doesn't exist.
Correct, it doesn't.
You are a white man. How do you know?
Because I have eyes.
Because you have eyes. That's not a description.
Reason. So what can a black person do that I can't do in America, or
what can
vice
a black
versa?
person do?
What can I do a black person can't do?
Let's think of some history right here. Let's go through the history of redlining.
I don't need a history. I don't need a lesson.
No,
you're talking about white privilege.
You do need a history lining. Clearly, you need a history lesson.
I know your talking points better than you do, and I've read all the literature that you have. I've probably forgotten more about the literature.
History affects the present day as well, and you know that's true. If you went to college, you would know.
Well, hold on a second, but let me.
So then why are you wearing the college of the scam shirt? Drop out.
Well, because you could.
So it's because you don't believe your own beliefs, and that's what I'm saying.
Well, you can admit something's a scam and still get through it. That's why he's wearing it. Okay.
Why?
You could feel like you're getting ripped off by an airline and still want to get to New York.
That's not what we're talking about anymore.
Like you're like, I'm getting ripped off by a $1,000 ticket, but you still get on the airplane. Like it doesn't make you a hypocrite. It means that the people are ripping you off, and a lot of you are getting ripped off. But no. So as far as white privilege, just without the history lesson of Jim Crow, segregation, imperialism, colonialism, slavery, all the stuff that I know that you're going to say. but just concretely in America today, what can a white person do that a black person can't do?
Black applicants to jobs are 50% less likely to get jobs if they have a black-sounding name.
That's not even close to being true. That's not even close to being true.
That is a literal...
in fact, it's the opposite.
I'm not going to argue your lived experience. I'm not going to... No.
See, now you have to listen to him under your rules because a black person is going to say you're wrong.
I am. He can say I'm wrong. I know.
Come on up to the mic.
I know. I read your...
my name's Keemon Dixon. I have a really black name. Please tell me how 50% of my internships have been denied when I've worked for Senator Mike Lee, Mayor Trent Sachs, Speaker Mike Schultz.
Hold on.
I've worked for a Congressman, Burgess Owens. I've actually worked on his campaign. I've worked on the campaigns of John Huntsman Jr. Please tell me how my black experience and my black name has not given me shit. Go ahead.
So...
Democrats were sent by God.
Why? Was he out of locusts?
Kind of hard to argue that one. He was out of locusts. That is, of course, why Charlie Kirk was killed, because the left could not withstand his logic. He was so right on. He never insulted anybody. He was always very clear. There might have been a little sarcasm in a couple of his comments, but the point is he was so good that the left, whose entire thesis of life is based upon lies and fables, they could not withstand his logic. Now this. I was very fortunate that the Babylon Bee's investigative research unit was able to get a video conference, or able to video a conference that the Democrats had with their dear leader, Satan. And I'm going to share that with you now.
Thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ+ and trans rights. You see, I have an equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine. Open borders.
I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Hey, whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world. The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, how can I say this? You might need to tone it down just...
Tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. It's much easier on the ears than baby murder, so kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't.
We don't. Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. Let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like, diversity is our...
Are you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is head and moi. My sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it. All right, still, let's think about tactics. Okay, do you think that occupying bridges and blocking traffic is somehow winning people over to your cause?
Yeah, and Making people hate us by blocking traffic is our thing. He's stealing our thing.
You're not stealing your thing. You must die. We will kill you all.
See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I love the homicidal thing that you got going on there. I really dig it, okay? But maybe market it just a little bit differently. Like the serial killer that everyone thinks is such a sweet guy, you know? He's got 27 bodies in the basement, but he's like, you know, coaching Little League. That's what I want. Be that guy.
Death to America.
You know, the funny thing is, you don't even look Middle Eastern. Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong?
I'm not. I actually grew up on Long Island, but my parents sent me to college. Death to America.
HRC guy. You have been going over the top as well.
Well, it's important for us, they, them, to be accepted just like everyone else.
Yes, of course. And convincing people that they're intolerant for not wanting men to get naked in women's locker rooms. I guess that's genius. I mean, come on, it's next level stuff. All right, but insisting that your children be mutilated. I mean, come on, it's turning people off, you guys. I mean, not everyone, obviously, but until the election, can we just all pretend for a few months not to be crazy, lunatic, homicidal extremists?
Extremist? No, it's my body, my Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump.
You will obey me. Sorry. Glad we're all on the same page, though.
Now, if you're still foolish enough to call yourself a Democrat, if you still believe that there's any redeeming factor in being a Democrat, I would ask you to give some serious reconsideration to that because, well, that meeting was the Babylon Bee and it was completely fictitious. Sure made a lot of good points, didn't it?
You know, the British gave up their guns. And within about 30 years, they were being arrested for mean tweets while dutifully regurgitating government studies that were telling them how free they are. This is why you never underestimate what politicians will do to you the moment they think they can get away with it.
In other news, Venezuelan freedom fighter Maria Corina Machado hailed President Donald Trump as the heir to the legendary U.S. founding father George Washington while presenting him with the Nobel Peace Prize medal that she received in October. Of course, once again, no one has done more when it comes to creating peace in the world than President Donald John Trump. Nobody is even close. During a press scrum outside the U.S. Capitol on Thursday, Machado explained the impetus for her gracious gesture. She said, "I gave the President of the United States the Nobel Peace Prize medal, and I told him, 200 years ago, General Lafayette gave Simón Bolívar a medal with George Washington's face on it, and Bolívar kept that medal for the rest of his life, and when you see his portraits, you see the medal." She continued, "It was given by General Lafayette as a sign of the brotherhood between the people of the United States and the people of Venezuela in their shared fight for freedom against tyranny." Machado said now, 20 years later, the people of Bolivar are giving back the heir of Washington a medal, the Nobel Peace Prize medal, as a recognition of President Trump's unique commitment to our freedom. So a reporter said, "Well, did you offer President Trump your Nobel Peace Prize?" She said, "I presented the President of the United States the medal, the Nobel Peace Prize." Well, this is a big deal. I got to tell you, General Lafayette, for those of you that are younger, maybe don't know, was a French military officer who joined the Continental Army led by General George Washington during the American Revolution, where we fought the British. Yes, I have to tell you that. Lafayette was a great admirer of Simón Bolívar, who liberated much of South America from Spanish colonial rule. Well, hours after Machado's thoughtful deed, President Trump thanked her in a Truth Social post. And of course, if you're not on Truth Social, you need to be. And he said, "Maria presented me with her Nobel Peace Prize for the work that I have done. It's such a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. Thank you so much." So this is good news. Donald Trump at least deserved the medal, though he didn't officially get the prize because, let's face it, the Nobel Peace Prize people, they don't want peace. They are warmongers. They want war. And they generally only hand out medals to people that are likely to cause a war. In this case, they thought Maria Machado was going to cause a war with the dictator. Well, turned out she didn't cause a war. Donald Trump went in there and fixed the problem. So her admiration for Donald Trump is well-deserved and absolutely genuine, and we thank her for doing that. We hope that she soon will become the leader of Venezuela and lead them back to prosperity, because there was a point in time when they were the most prosperous country in South America.
I'll bet you a dime I can drink that drink without touching the pack.
Dime, huh? Okay. You're right.
Okay, you'll love it.
Of course, what we have is a shot glass that is underneath a hat. He ducks under the bar and begins to drink, sort of.
Yeah. Huh?
Of course, to get the full experience, you got to go and watch it on Rumble, but it was pretty cool. Now this. Meanwhile, the president of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, responded to Donald Trump's call for making a deal. He said, Cuba is a free and independent sovereign nation. No one tells us what to do. We are ready to defend the homeland to the last drop of blood. And Donald Trump said that can be arranged. Anyway, they need Venezuelan oil. They are now going to be in sad condition because they don't have any Venezuelan oil, and they don't have the millions of dollars of Venezuelan money that they were getting. So Rubio said after the raid that brought Maduro to the United States that Cuba might want to reconsider some of its actions in light of that raid. As you know, our Secretary of State, Rubio, is a Cuban. He said, if I lived in Havana and I was in that government, I'd be concerned just a little bit. So we want to see what goes on. But the fact is, Cuba is going to collapse. Iran is going to collapse. This is all going down, and it's going down very soon because they cannot survive without all of these dictators banding together and then selling Venezuelan oil. So wait to see what happens with that. I'm personally pretty excited about everything that I'm watching right now. I couldn't be any happier with my president, Donald John Trump. The only thing that I wish is I wish we were getting more. I wish we were getting it faster. But we have never in the history of the United States ever had a president of the caliber of Donald Trump. And this is because he cannot be bought. He already has all the money that he could ever want. And he cannot be coerced because his entire family have sworn to pledge their lives and their sacred honor towards saving the United States. So you can't threaten the guy by saying, hey, I'm going to kill a member of your family, because they're all in on it. So all I could say is I would like to ask you to get down on your knees and give thanks to Yeshua, the mighty God in Christ, for President Donald John Trump. Be right back.
Please return to the Doc Greene Show. This is Marvin the Martian. When you miss it, you make me very, very angry.
The doctor will see you now.
Welcome back to the third segment here on Freedom 1300 AM right here in Beaumont. I want to thank you guys for being part of the show today, and I hope you've been enjoying some of the fun stuff. You know, the reason why the Democrats use a jackass as their symbol is because there's a lot of jackassery going on over there. And sports commentator Stephen A. Smith, whom I once thought was perhaps the most intelligent Democrat out there, well, he may still be, he warned Thursday that because of Donald Trump's policies, that the Republicans are going to lose the midterms and probably the White House. Now, he said to all the Republicans and conservatives out there, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to lose the presidency. And it's all going to be the fault of your president, Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump is blowing it, pointing to the escalating tensions because we continue to try to enforce the law in Minnesota, and Democrats never met a criminal they didn't love. They never met a baby they didn't want to kill. But meanwhile, Mr. Smith goes on to say, he's blowing it all for himself. He's going to blow it all for the GOP. He's going to blow it all for Congress. He's going to blow it for the Senate. And he's likely to blow it for the White House. All because of what I said from day one. That man don't know how to act. Has he seen the polls? Donald Trump's approval numbers are the highest they have ever been. And furthermore, huge numbers of Democrats have left the Democrat Party and are now supporting Donald Trump. So he added that the president's claim to return to the country to normalcy falls short amid the deployment of federal agents to the North Star state. The Department of Homeland Security, by the way, has sent over 2,000 agents to Minnesota because, well, we now know that fraud up there is approaching $20 billion. $20 billion that these Somalis have stolen from the American taxpayers. And if you think that it makes sense to pay the tax anymore, you haven't been paying attention. But Stephen A. Smith says, yeah, that's going to cost Trump the election. Look, let me tell you something. Democrats are pretty much just not very bright people. Not all criminals are Democrats, but certainly all Democrats are criminals, and I think you're going to find that's true of Stephen A. Smith also. Part of the reason is these guys get money for doing bad things, and they like to do bad things, and they continue to do bad things. But I am personally fed up with being ripped off by these people that came here from other countries. They didn't come here because they wanted to work hard and make America great. They came here because they wanted to rob America, and that's what they've been doing. Well, it's coming to a halt, and I don't know about you, but I am completely 100% in favor of Donald Trump. I just wish that he would do more. I wish he would do it faster, because let's face it, he doesn't have a lot of time left to get this done, my friends. He's got, in essence, about 12 more months to get the bulk of this done. And, of course, John Fetterman is probably going to leave the Democrat Party and join the Republican Party as well, because he's fed up with the jackassery that we see going on. So, anyway, moving right along.
You never listen to me.
I do listen to you. You're making a big deal out of nothing.
This is a big deal.
No, it's not. I don't... You know what? You're right.
What?
I don't listen to you, and this is a big deal. You're right, I'm wrong, and I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you were able to admit that you were wrong.
Of course.
Wait a second. I know what you're doing here. You're just saying I'm right because you don't want to fight.
You know what? You're right.
Wait, what?
I am just admitting you're right so we don't have to fight. You're right, I'm wrong, and I'm sorry.
Wait a second. You're doing it again right now.
Oh, my God, you're right. I am doing it again right now, aren't I? You're right, and I'm wrong. And I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you were able to admit that you were wrong 3 times now.
Of course.
Okay, now I feel bad. Maybe I was making a big deal out of nothing. Maybe I was wrong, and I'm sorry.
You know what? You're right. You did make a big deal out of nothing, and I was right, and you were wrong, and you should be sorry. Now go make me a sandwich.
Wait a second!
Speaking as a guy who's been married for a really long time, I try to share these marital tips with you wherever I can. Now this. Professor William A. Thomas, who is a theologian and a Mariologist, and a former classmate of Pope Leo, told LifeSite News editor in a recent interview that genetically manipulated vaccines, such as the COVID vaccine with the mRNA, well, that is the new sin. And of course, that was strongly endorsed by Pope Francis. And Pope Francis, of course, was the guy that when we asked, is the Pope Catholic? And the answer was no, he's not. We're not even sure he's a Christian. Nonetheless, Thomas, a member of the Pontifical Marian Academy and director of St. John Paul II Institute of Marian Studies, said that this shot is the new sin. Now, the popes previous to that not only promoted the mRNA shot, which has killed lots of people and will kill many more over the next 2 years, but he also punished any of the bishops who wanted to allow their flocks to make their own choices. The professor noted that his belief that these experimental shots are considered genetic manipulation, one of these so-called new sins in the modern age. There are many bishops who lost their seats. Remember one bishop in Puerto Rico who said it's entirely up to you whether you want to take the vaccine or not, and he was removed from his position. Thomas was referring to Bishop Daniel Fernandez Torres, who in 2022 was abruptly removed from the Diocese of Arecibo, Puerto Rico, after supporting conscientious objectors to the COVID vaccine. And of course, those of us with brains recognized immediately this is not a vaccine. We immediately recognized that this was an experimental drug, and for the first time that we know of in human history, we were going to experiment directly on the public instead of running it through the normal channels that a vaccine would have to go through. This was a level of dictatorship that existed in Rome. Many of the Swiss guards left their positions rather than take the vaccine, and quite rightly so, because in 2008, Pope Benedict listed 7 new sins, and one of those has to do with genetic modification and genetic engineering of the human person, and that includes the injection of experimental drugs into a human person. These 7 new sins Tom mentioned here are the new sins listed by Archbishop Gianfranco Girotti, and then the region of the Apostolic Penitentiary at the Vatican, and that had become prevalent in modern times. At the time, the mainstream media falsely suggested that Pope Benedict had changed the traditional 7 deadly sins. That is, however, not the case. Those are still the 7 deadly sins. It's just we now have some new recognizable ones. We cannot fail to denounce certain violations of fundamental human rights through experimentation and genetic manipulation, whose outcome it is difficult to foresee or control. Once again, if you have taken the vaccine, you're not long for this world. There are some potential treatments, but most of the people who took the vaccine, not only do they get COVID multiple times a year, but they are also getting what is known as turbo cancers, myocarditis, and blood clots and other inflammation issues that are all created by the mRNA. And of course, the doctor that created mRNA that has the patent on it said it was never designed to be used in the manner it was used in this vaccine. So the professor continued that these drug companies, Big Pharma, have made billions upon billions upon billions, and at the same time, through their lawyers, have gained immunity from prosecution from every government through the World Health Organization and through the United Nations, both of which are completely corrupt. Since the COVID shot was rushed into circulation, several prominent Catholic clerics and thinkers have denounced it, both for the health risks that Thomas cited and due to the fact that they are abortion tainted as well. In December of 2021, Bishops Marian Elegante, Rene Henry Gracida, Athanasius Snyder, and Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, along with 10 priests and other scholars, including Dr. Peter Kwasniewski, signed a 4-page Bethlehem Declaration opposing the taking of these morally illicit shots. Deacon Nick Donnelly, another signer of the document, told LifeSite News at the time that the petition's name was inspired by the massacre of the Holy Innocents by Herod. Bethlehem is associated with the massacre of the Holy Innocents by Herod, and this petition gives us the opportunity to protest on behalf of those silenced victims of the pharmaceutical industry. Once again, if you have taken the vaccine, please seek competent medical help, because I would like to try to save your life. I've lost several friends and, of course, my own brother to this. Of course, a lot of us guys that are doing radio, we like voiceovers, and we like people that do voiceovers. And this next lady, she is a professional, and she's going to give you baby talk. Remember, even back the Big Bopper, I think it was, or was it Jerry Lee Lewis that said, "I love the way you baby talk"? Well, we're going to look at how that has sounded over the decades and compare it.
This is the Flapper voice. It was created to rebel against serious, formal, and restrained Victorian womanhood. It combines sophistication and rebellion all wrapped up in a youthful package. It also lets me express myself in a flirtatious way without seeming too threatening or loose.
The most famous person who used this breathy voice actually worked with a speech therapist to mask a childhood stutter, which is branding genius. And again, it became a way to appear non-threatening to someone who might feel emasculated by a woman's independence or intelligence. I guess you could call it strategic infantilization.
So, this style of speaking actually served as a social function? We're, basically trying to survive in a world that tells us smart girls aren't cool and cool girls can't be smart? What seems like airheaded speech is actually creating sisterhood during an era of intense economic competition and greed is good individualism. You can totally underestimate us at your own risk. We're speaking in code and we're not going to translate for you. This isn't about survival. It's a calculated business strategy and personal branding, and I'm monetizing the fact that you underestimate me. You can absolutely think that I'm that blonde while I build my media empire.
Oh, honey, I'm turning the baby talk into very deliberate camp. It's a theatrical performance that's so exaggerated it's becoming satire. I'm not trapped in this voice. I'm using it to make you laugh or think and maybe question why you ever thought women who sounded like this weren't actually smart. This is PhD level performance art, disguised as a bit.
This is called bimbo feminism, bestie, and it's a conscious reclamation. I'm out here being adorable while dismantling the patriarchy one video at a time, and it grabs your attention in an era of like a billion distractions. The girlies who get it, and the girlies who don't. And that's okay, because I support all women, including their rights and wrongs.
I certainly hope you enjoyed that. We try to have a little more fun on the Saturday show. Can't wait to see you guys on Monday. Please spread the word, like and share. If you're following this on Rumble or YouTube, please leave your comments, because comments are worth 1,000 likes. So thank you guys, especially you, Duck Do, because you never fail to denigrate my show, and I'm grateful to you for it.
That's all, folks.